Don, thank you so much for that.
No problem,
awesome. We're catching up on a few questions here. We got one text in and one asked in between services.
Right.
And the one that was texted in was very simple. The one that was texted in was, I think you said it towards the end. Do they need a counselor to walk through the consequences that they have to work through?
Right.
When they are, even if they came to a place of acceptance or like you said, forgiveness, how can they get help? Basically, it was how can we get help, to work through the consequences? Because I understand that to be real, that even though forgiveness is 100% real and freeing, the consequences themselves can often feel like a weight, right? So just kind of speak a little bit more into that for that person that texted.
Well, I believe that you're going to touch on a little bit of that.
A little bit of
as
that,
well.
yes, a little bit, yes.
But the reality is there are times where where our situations are so complex that we need an outside source to be able to look at our situation to give us a little bit different perspective. Because if you've ever heard the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees, it's true. Sometimes you're so stuck in the middle of it, you just need an outside person being able to speak into it. And so we're going to provide next week a list of counselors in the area that we use. I think counseling is an incredible opportunity to be able to help people clarify what the real situation is and be able to give them some more understanding and be able to process through some of the problems. But I really encourage a Christian counselor.
Christian counselor, yes. We encourage that as well, yes. And I think we have a resource that we're going to send out. I can't remember if we're going to do that tomorrow or next week. We'll send out a resource in this series of counselors that we've worked with that we could recommend that live, that are in the Lake Norman area, at least in Charlotte. And I will say that I love the idea. I love the fact that, when you talk to counselors, it's not so much that you can't go through the forgiveness part. It's that, sometimes you're too close to the consequences that you can't. You're constantly reminded, right? So the train comes down the way. You're constantly reminded, and you're so tempted every time to go to the old man.
Your old man is so powerful. You're never gonna. You don't have the ability to see
the outside of it. So even treat a counselor from the standpoint of this is just somebody outside of me that can help me see things I cannot see. When it comes to the consequences of what I'm trying to work through in terms of that. It's funny. Okay, so I had him bring it up. Let's switch places real quick. Okay. So I had him bring it up because somebody asked me this in between services, and I think it was just mainly because of the simplicity of this, that they couldn't tell that they were like, well, there's no difference in the two things. Like they were reading about the differences versus the old man versus new man. Outside of what you already kind of talked about, what would you say are the primary differences in terms of how thoughts run in the old man versus how thoughts then run in the new man?
Very good question. The only difference is this one's controlled by the grace of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
So the thoughts run the same. If the thoughts run and they keep going, that grief wheel, let's say that grief wheel continues to roll up and down the track, it's simply because you're living in the old man.
Gotcha.
What needs to happen in the new man, what I should do is put like a picture of the wheel there, because the old man, the wheel runs rampantly.
Just runs up and down.
The new man
is where it deflates. Or where, and the arrow,
you're able to take that captive, and it doesn't control you anymore.
Right, and
but you don't have the ability to get rid of it on your own.
Cool.
You can only get rid of that wheel with the power of Christ in your life. So that's a great question.
And if you didn't get that online, you can email us, let us know. But it really is something that I love. I love these two images because they mean a lot when you've gone through counseling and you've gone through and worked with families to say, this is why this looks this way, right? This is why this is. And most people don't understand sometimes how much neuroscience plays into our spiritual processing, which I think was just a great addition
and
to
so
today.
Many people, that's why so many people are against the counseling program. I don't want to talk about my childhood. I get that. I do. I get it big time. But the reality is we can't understand.
Right.
We cannot understand why we've become the adult we are if we don't understand what happened when we were a child. And a counselor has to understand where you came from in order to be able to help you understand why you got where you're at. Awesome. And that's why they ask those questions about your childhood.
Well, you can always reach Don at thejourneyonline.com if you have any further questions. Obviously, thank you guys so much for asking them and tuning in, and we'll continue to this series hopefully next week. So thanks guys. Have an awesome week.